Sawyer, grinning evilly, said that Ling Si finally showed up. Steam was coming out of his armor, and he said that he had even brought his friends with him. Ling Si, standing in front of him, said that if he wanted to fight a tough opponent like him, the armored titan, one-on-one, this battle could last for years. He asked about being okay with him using a large number of people against him. He added that he was the first to bring the entire guild here and surround them. Sawyer, laughing, asked if he really thought he could defeat him with just massive force. He told him not to underestimate him. The protagonist, agreeing, said he didn't need that many people to stand up to him. Thanking Ruko and Dark Feather, he told them that he would let them deal with the other people so they wouldn't interfere with their battle. Ling Si said with a confident smile that it would only take himself and Narlo to deal with him. Sawyer said with a smirk that he was a big talker. Using Surging Battle Cry, he swung a huge metal fist and said that it would let him learn the power of his Surging Battle Cry after a special derivation of the Awakening ability. He added that even he himself did not know the limits of his own power, and they would see how long the little thief could endure. Ruko, surrounded by yellow energy, asked if he would really be okay with Narlo as his sole helper. He said it wasn't that he didn't trust Narlo, he was just a little worried. Dark Feather replied that it was the captain's decision and they should follow it. Stillwaters told Ruko not to push himself because he was injured. Squinting his eyes, Ruko said that his strength and defense had been increasing non-stop during the battle with him, and it kept him at a disadvantage. He said that he still managed to understand some of his attack patterns, and he always liked to launch an extra attack right after a heavy blow until the opponent was fully prepared for his attack. Then, if you block his attack, you can see that the second strike is fiercer than the first one. Ruko was able to counter him head-on and not lose the battle because he ignored the pressure and he didn't really use his full strength. Ruko assumed that he panicked, otherwise he would definitely be able to help Ling Si with his knowledge. He asked Dark Feather if he agreed with him. He offered to help Ling Si. Dark Feather, hesitantly, objected that they should follow orders. Stillwaters said that Ruko did an excellent job of analyzing this, and it was because of the special derivation of the Awakening ability that infinitely buffs the Surging Battle Cry. The longer the battle goes on, the stronger his battle power becomes. He explained that, thanks to Surging Battle Cry and his own incredibly terrifying physical defense, Sawyer is able to force an opponent to fight what he wants. He said that magic damage can be very effective against him, but under normal circumstances few mages will be able to literally blast this beast away. Stillwaters added that this terrifying power allowed Sawyer to take the position of guild leader. He asked with a smile with Ling Si how he was going to deal with him. Sawyer used Strike of Furious Axe, swinging a giant axe. Ling Si used Evil Spirit's invisibility, and the axe hit his clone. Narlo said that this guy literally goes into berserk mode like crazy and they can't launch an attack. The main character asked if he remembered what he told him on the way in. He said he would need his help later. Narlo replied, no problem. He said that he was worried about more Wolf's Fang people coming here to interfere with them. Ling Si asked with a smile if he had forgotten that they also had nebulous companions. He added that they were quite useful. Stillwaters held up a book surrounded by a yellow magic circle and used Divine Radiance of Blessing, magical formation of enhancement. He told everyone to stay in his buff magical formation and not to let them come to Sawyer's aid. Dark Feather, Coco Lai, and Ruko fought using their skills. Tillies asked Squirrel if he was trying to escape and if he wanted to help the head of his guild. Squirrel, gritting his teeth, said they were pesky. Dira, swinging her sword, ordered them to stop. Tiana used a spell, surrounded by purple energy. Sawyer, breaking the rocks around him, said don't you dare hide from him. Narlo said it looks like he is really mad. Ling Si said that now that Wolf's Fang is no longer under the command of their guild master, they are as confused as a handful of sand. He said that as long as they keep provoking him, he will lose control and that is his main weakness, as an extremely tough opponent that possesses incredibly powerful offense and defense. Narlo said it sounded familiar. He asked if he had learned it from the library too. Ling Si grinned in silence and thought about the fact that Sawyer's might had fulfilled his ambition, but he had completely lost himself. He thought that in his past life, he too had left his team behind and went into battle alone. In time he almost got butchered by the men from the first guild. Sawyer shouted to Ling Si that it was useless to run from him like a mouse. He told him to come on out and face him. Ling Si, standing in the dissipating dust cloud, grinned and thought that he would do the honors in this life. Sawyer struck the ground with red energy, and Ling Si and Narlo dodged. The main character was behind him and told him it was their turn to retaliate. The veins on Sawyer's face ballooned and he asked about the fact that he was finally done running. Ling Si used Maze of Dominion, and Sawyer noticed the fog in front of him. Maze of Dominion has the player form a fog field. Within the field, using backstab will be a critical hit. Sawyer, shrouded in vapor and surrounded by purple fog, grinned as he tried to reduce his field of vision. His grin exposed large, animal-like fangs, and he said that such a trick wouldn't work on him. Using pulverization, he surrounded himself with a vortex of blue energy. Ling Si thought that now it's up to Narlo. Looking at the huge blue vortex and the purple mist on the battlefield, Blue Cloud said that he was very curious to see how Ling Si would defeat Sawyer. He said with a wide smile that unfortunately he couldn't get a closer look. Laughing, he said, "What a shame." Fallen Whale asked about whether he wanted to say that Sawyer would lose this time. Blue Cloud told him that after all, his opponent is Ling Si, a man who always has something to surprise. The blue vortex rumbled and raged in the purple mist. Striking out with his fist, Sawyer sent the vortex forward. Gritting his teeth, he clucked his tongue and said it hit again. The fog cleared, and behind Sawyer's back stood Narlo, pointing forward with his blade shrouded in yellow electricity. Getting into a fighting stance, he grinned at the thought of his master needing his attack to have the lightning paralysis effect. He remembered how Ling Si had told him to listen carefully. He had said that when they were fighting a tough opponent like Sawyer, they should first restrict his movements. It would be more ideal if his attack had a paralysis effect, and he needed him to try his best to maximize the paralysis effect on Sawyer. Narlo listened attentively with a serious face. The protagonist said, "You said that he would create the most suitable opportunity for him to make his attack." Surrounded by yellow electricity, Narlo thought that his chance had come. He thought with a confident smile as Ling Si in shadow surprised him. Sawyer, surrounded by purple mist, tried to find Ling Si who was running at his back. He said that all he can do is hide over and over again and he is pathetic. The main character said with a wide smile that he felt like it was time. He said as he wants to attack him directly. Sawyer saw a huge yellow lightning bolt cutting through the fog. Ling Si told him to enjoy their gift. Sawyer opened his mouth in surprise. In front of him was a huge dragon-shaped stream of electricity. The lightning struck Sawyer, enveloping him in electricity. Gritting his teeth, Sawyer said that he had already told them that their attacks meant nothing to him and would not leave even a scratch on him. Narlo said that it looked like it would take time to paralyze him. The main character told him to look at his armor. He said that his thunder magic was already starting to pierce through it. Sawyer's armor was covered in small cracks. Narlo said that he couldn't believe that only such a small part of the thunder element suppression that he had given him all in casting had penetrated. He said that his impenetrable defense was no joke. Ling Si said it was fine and they just needed it to work. He said continuing pumping that lightning into his armor. With a smirk, he added, "until he is completely paralyzed." Jumping forward, the main character said to continue distracting him to buy him time. Sawyer, raising up a fist shrouded in red energy, asked about how he had finally had enough of hiding and had decided to fight him face to face. He asked if he was capable of withstanding his punch. Sawyer used mental blow, and the red energy headed towards Ling Si. Shaking, Ling Si fell to one knee, grabbing his head, and thought about the fact that he had a headache. Tensely clenching his teeth, he thought about his vision being distorted, and it must be an unblockable warrior class debuff. He thought he was trying to create an opening so he could finish him off with one decisive strike. Sawyer, swinging his fist, said his mental blow is a special skill. He said it wasn't a spell, but an unblockable debuff. Sawyer said that the more and more he looks, the more his vision will become distorted. He told him to watch him turn it into mincemeat. The smile disappeared from Sawyer's face, and he wondered if the lightning effect was that his movements became a little slower. Ling Si tensed up tensely. Sawyer struck with a fist shrouded in red energy, and Ling Si dodged with top time. Squinting his eyes, he thought that it looked like the paralysis was starting to take effect, and his movements became noticeably slower. Looking at Sawyer, who hit the ground while clenching his teeth, the protagonist thought that even if he had relied on top time, he doubted his reflexes would have been enough to dodge his attack with that debuff. Narlo was surrounded by yellow electricity, and Ling Si thought he had managed to buy them some time. Sawyer, gritting his teeth, thought that this kid is charging up his energy again. He thought that he couldn't let him deal any more stacks of paralysis on him. Ling Si, appearing at his back, told him not to get distracted. With a wave of his dagger, he said that he was fighting him right now. Sawyer thought that his defense couldn't be broken by attacks of this level, but it definitely got on his nerves. Steam came out of his armor. Narlo shouted, "Here I come." He frowned tensely, surrounded by electricity. A huge stream of electricity rushed towards Sawyer. Shrouded in electricity, Sawyer thought that because of this paralysis effect he can't keep up anymore. The lightning struck Sawyer, and Narlo said that once his blades transformed into lightning, the gathered energy could cut through anything. The electricity pierced through Sawyer's armor. Sawyer thought of it as pain, and he hadn't felt it in a long time. Shrouded in red energy, he howled and angrily asked how dare he hurt him. The impact threw Narlo aside. Ling Si called out to him. Frowning, he thought he gave it his all in that one blow, and now he's completely drained. Narlo, surrounded by electricity, told him not to worry about him. He said with a smirk that this was the strongest attack he could help him with. Sawyer turned his attention to the wounds he had just received. Narlo used static implosion, and yellow electricity enveloped Sawyer. An absolute paralysis effect was cast on Sawyer. Lengxi thought about how he wouldn't miss the opportunity Narlo had created for him. Sawyer said through pain that he would quickly recover to normal. The protagonist, stabbing with his dagger, asked if he thought he would give him that chance. Sawyer, swearing, shouted to Lengxi that no matter how flashy his attacks were, he could not be killed by physical attacks. Lengxi summoned Heavensward, and a huge black sword appeared from the red magic circle. On Lengxi's forehead was a magician's sigil, and surrounded by elemental crystals, he said with a confident smile that he knew this, and the damage that physical attacks could do to him was extremely limited. He said that was why he was going to attack him with a combined physical and magical attack. Sawyer, gritting his teeth, said that Squirrel was right, and he is a thief with all sorts of nonsensical moves. He asked loudly if he was a mage or a thief. Heavensward was surrounded by water, electricity, and fire, and Lengxi said it didn't matter. Taking a swing, he said the only thing that mattered was that he would kill him today. The main character used elemental manifestation, Chaos Excalibur. Running away, Squirrel thought about Tilly's and that summoned guardian parrying his attacks. He dodged the knight's sword swings and Tilly's fire spells. Squirrel thought that compared to last time, her attacks were even more cumbersome to deal with than before. He shouted angrily that without this knight's protection, he would have cut her to pieces with his dagger long ago. A huge sword appeared behind him. Turning around, he asked what it was. Tilly said with a smirk that it looked like Lengxi was finishing things up on his end. People watched as the huge sword struck the ground. Sawyer thought that he couldn't move. Gritting his teeth, he thought that he wouldn't be able to dodge it because of this paralysis effect. Lengxi said with a sinister smile that he could do as he wished thanks to Narlo. He told him to continue to stand still as to the slaughter. The sword struck his opponent and Sawyer screamed in pain. The impact raised a huge cloud of dust. Squirrel watched in surprise as Sawyer was defeated. The dust cloud dispersed and Sawyer was lying on the ground. Lengxi said that since physical attacks wouldn't work, he would just drown him out with magic damage. Turning around, he smilingly thanked Sawyer for the fight. Ruko raised his fist and said that this must be his latest killer move. Grinning, he said that was to be expected from Lengxi. Darkfeather shot a glance at the opponent next to him and said, GG. Coco Lai praised Lengxi. Stillwaters said that with that, Wolf's Fang should be at the end of their rope. The armor guy said in surprise that Sawyer had lost. Squirrel, shaking with anger, asked how that was possible. Tilly said that Lengxi is an attention-grabbing show-off. Squirrel asked how that fool Sawyer could afford to lose here to Lengxi. He asked what would become of Wolf's Fang's reputation. Tilly's, frowning, said that it was time for the Wolf's Fang Guild to surrender. Squirrel said that in that case, even if it ruined Wolf's Fang's future plans, he didn't care anymore. Shrouded in dark energy, he apologized to Sawyer and said that he was going to use it now. Fallen Whale said he didn't expect things to turn out the way Blue Cloud predicted. A guy in the crowd asked what kind of technique is that. He said it's amazing. Blue Cloud said that Lengxi would only become even more incredible in the future. Fallen Whale said with a smile that he wondered how Squirrel was doing. He said that as Vice Guildmaster, he must feel just awful. Laughing, Blue Cloud said that he must be looking awful right now. He glanced at Squirrel, who ran across the battlefield, enveloped in dark blue energy. The smile disappeared from Blue Cloud's face, and he asked about the thing Squirrel was holding. Tiana, noticing Squirrel, asked what he was up to. Squirrel said with a grim face that this secret weapon would eventually be used against Lengxi anyway. The dialogue box said, Imp of Lethal Poison, High Level, Mythical Grade Single-Use Item. This is an extremely vicious item that hardly anyone knows about. Once its target has been confirmed, the imp will move extremely swiftly to plunge its poison-coated dagger deep into its target's neck. There is no antidote for this ancient poison, which will trigger within 3 seconds, causing certain death. No one would want to be targeted by such a horrifying thing. Squirrel thought that it was a mythical grade assassination item that they had accidentally found in the dungeon. When they found it, they immediately decided that it would be used in the most important guild battles. They wanted to use it in the next guild battle to deal with the main guild Divine Chamber or Thousand Autumns. The plan was to catch one of them off guard in the middle of a chaotic battle and use it to take the other's party life. This doll was capable of raising their level by absorbing experience from monsters. When they found this item, it was a low-level item that has now become a high-level item, absorbing experience for an extended period of time. Squirrel thought with a mad expression on his face that his task for an extended period of time was to cultivate this little imp, and this was a direct order from Sawyer. Looking at Lengxi, he thought that he must consider it an honor because this item was to be used against the heads of the top 2 guilds. He thought that it didn't matter anymore and he should die. The dialogue box announced that the target had been confirmed. Gritting his teeth, Squirrel said that he had raised this thing to become a high-level item. The small demon in his hands screamed, "Kill!" Squirrel released it from his hands and Imp rushed forward. Tilly's, cursing, said that they had gotten careless and let it slip away. She shouted to Ling Si to watch out for that squire's secret weapon. Ling Si, looking at the stream of energy flying towards him, tensed up and thought of it as a space-bending item. Imp approached his face with a knife in his hands. Everyone around him watched in suspense. Squirrel smirked evilly. Ling Si thought that he wouldn't be able to react in time. Imp's knife came close to the protagonist's throat, and he looked at it tensely. A yellow stream of energy flew over the heads of the nebulous people. A yellow magical arrow struck the imp, almost reaching its target. There was an explosion, and the imp exploded before reaching Ling Si's throat. Squirrel, looking at the explosion, asked who it was. Turning around angrily, he asked who dared to interfere with him. Blue Cloud, holding a bow in his hand, apologized to Squirrel and said with a smile that he didn't like such underhanded methods. Noticing Blue Cloud, Squirrel asked about Celestial canceling their alliance. Tilly's appeared behind him, surrounded by flames, swinging her staff. Striking with the staff, she said she was almost messed up by letting him slip away. Squirrel dodged the blow by bouncing off to the side. Blue Cloud said he was too naive because no alliance lasts forever. Squirrel ordered his guild to retreat. Once on the ship, he ordered everyone back to the ship. Ryuko told them to leave. Dira raised her sword and exclaimed joyfully that Nebulous had won. Laughing, she said it was very satisfying. The guy with blonde hair said that Ling Si was incredible because he was able to defeat Wolf's Fang's guildmaster, Armored Giant Sawyer. The main character thought about how it was close and he still haven't recovered from it. Ryuko talked about how Ling Si was invincible, and that earth-shattering move was way too cool. Ling Si thought about how he was now indebted to Blue Cloud. A voice called out to Ling Si. On the dialogue box, Blue Cloud appeared in front of the protagonist and said that he had better watch more carefully for the arrows being shot from the darkness on the battlefield. He said he better watch out more carefully next time. Smiling widely, he told him to accept this arrow as a celebratory gift in honor of his victory. Ling Si said with a slight smile that he had incredible vision, and the fact that he was able to destroy an object traveling at such speed so accurately was astounding. He said he was impressed. The protagonist thought that this guy is probably no weaker than Sawyer. He thought about the fact that it takes terrifying anticipation and judgment to strike this doll at this speed from this distance with such precision. Looking at the carriage in the distance, Ling Si thought that his casual and easygoing veneer was just a cover for that scheming brain of his, and if they were to affect opposite sides in the future, Blue Cloud would prove to be a tough opponent. Blue Cloud suggested Fallen Whale make a comeback. He said it was a good show. Blue Cloud told Fallen Whale to draft an alliance contract and have it sent to Ling Si once they head back. Fallen Whale asked him about drafting an alliance with Nebulous. He asked if they should send a contract to Guildmaster Stillwaters. A carriage passed over their heads, and Blue Cloud said with a smile that he was willing to bet that a lot of changes would happen after this battle. Coco Lai said that she thought Ling Si would be the end, and he really knows how to give one a heart attack. Narlo, almost crying, told the protagonist that he was very worried. Ryuko told Ling Si that he was glad he was okay. Stillwaters, approaching the protagonist, asked if he remembered his proposal. He said that, at this point, he will make him look bad if he turns him down again. Holding out his hand, he said that whether it was Nebulous or himself, they needed a leader who could lead them to new heights. Stillwaters told him that 1 in a million genius. Tiana wondered what Stillwaters was thinking. Stillwaters said that if he missed out on such a great candidate, then all the sacrifices he made for Nebulous would be in vain. He suggested that Ling Si use his abilities to work together with him to bring this guild to the top of Heavenland. Ling Si remained silent. Everyone looked at him expectantly, and Ryuko asked about whether he was going to lead the guild. He exclaimed that it was great and he would be the first to give his support. Coco Lai told him that since Stillwaters trusts him so much, he should just accept the role. She told him to listen to the voices of his comrades. Dira raised her sword and shouted their support for him. A guy with blonde hair yelled out to him about how he was incredible and they were proud of him. Another person in the crowd shouted about how Ling Si was the best and they finally had their own legend in the guild. The crowd chanted Ling Si's name. The protagonist thought about the fact that in his past life, he was a nobody, and forming a guild and being able to rally others into action were simple secret dreams that he had hidden deep in his heart. Frowning, he wondered if this was exactly what he had wished for in his past life. Recalling himself from his real life in his past and current lifetime, he thought that he wanted to be number one in every aspect, whether it was himself or the guild. Ling Si thought that the chance to realize his dreams right now was in front of him. With a smirk, he thought about how long he had waited for this. The protagonist told Stillwaters that he had one request. Stillwaters said he could speak freely and he would agree if it was something he could do. Ling Si said that Nebulous is the product of years of his hard work, and he has no intentions of taking away his place as the centerpiece of guild management. He said that instead, he would like to represent Shadow as its central figure and be a part of the management of Nebulous. He explained that, in other words, it would be a merger of Nebulous and Shadow. Putting his hands in his pockets, Ling Si said with a confident smile that by doing so, he wanted to propose that their guild be renamed Penumbra, and this guild would be the culmination of the efforts between Stillwaters and himself. He urged to let the whole of Heavenland know of their presence as Penumbra. Stillwaters agreed with an excited smile. The protagonist said that they would engrave the name Penumbra upon the hearts of every player in Heavenland. Ling Si and Stillwaters looked at each other with confident smiles. Ling Si said that they would then become the #1 guild in Heavenland. He thought that like a shadow, they would infiltrate every corner of Heavenland. Like a shadow, they would always be lurking, waiting for the right moment to act. And like a shadow, they would be untouchable and a presence that could never be dispelled, and these were the new core principles of Penumbra. And thus, the ambush that was meant to take down Shadow came to a dramatic end. Nebulous is now called Penumbra, with Ling Si serving as its guildmaster. As members of Shadow, Tilly's, Pure Dark Feather, and Narlo have all been invited by Ling Si to officially become members of Penumbra. The dialogue boxes read, "A terrifying attack. The earth-shattering attack Penumbra's guildmaster Ling Si killed Wolf's Fang's guildmaster Sawyer with. The most charming former guildmaster steps down in a move worthy of respect. The former team known as Shadow is horrifyingly strong. An insight into the daily lives of the members of Shadow. Debate on the forum were on the tongues of all the players. The founding of Penumbra and Guildmaster Stillwaters stepping down became major hot topics overnight. Meanwhile, the core principles of Penumbra attracted the attention of countless top players who all flocked to join this rising power. Following the explosive debate and the impact of the battle, Penumbra replaced Wolf's Fang's position as the #3 guild with ease. On the other hand, Heavenland also saw the arrival of a major update, the Underground World, which took an unprecedented 2 entire days to patch. Players could use that time to prepare for the greater challenges that awaited them. Heavenland is about to embark on a new chapter. Ling Si, while leaving the house, told the old man that he had left. Above the school building was a blue sky with white clouds. The protagonist thought that it felt like it had been forever since he last came to the school, and it was a strange feeling. Ling Si turned around after hearing a voice telling him that he had come very early today. Seeing Zhu Ting, he said hello. She asked if it was because the sports festival he promised to participate in was today. Ling Si smirked awkwardly, thinking that he had completely forgotten about it. The protagonist and Zhu Ting were walking down the school corridor. One of the schoolgirls said that she heard that students from other schools were also invited to their sports festival. He asked if they were going to make them compete to test their physical fitness. Another student replied that she is getting fired up and their school athletes should try their best. Ling Si asked about other schools will also participate. Zhu Ting smiled sadly and said that this is why hardly anyone from their school is participating, and moreover, the participants from other schools are probably their best athletes, so they will be tough competitors. She added that for that reason, it was only natural that no one would want to sign up for such a taxing competition. The main character thought about the fact that she knew about all this but still wants him to participate. As he left, he thought that he just wanted to experience normal school life, and this kind of attention-grabbing activity is not necessary for him. Ling Si told her that she'd better look for someone else because he's not good at sports. Zhu Ting called out to Ling Si. She tearfully said that she was begging him and she didn't know who else to ask. Zhu Ting said that the other class leaders have already found their representatives and they need someone to represent their class. She said that although participation is really voluntary, there are too few students participating in the competition and the school is putting pressure on them, the class teachers. She begged Ling Si for help. Zhu Ting said that there are no volunteers from their class and she is at her wit's end. The main character told her to stop crying and she opened her eyes. Ling Si said with a smile that he would participate, but then she shouldn't blame him if the results were bad. Zhu Ting with sparkling eyes thanked him. The protagonist asked what event he should participate in. With a smile, she lifted up a piece of paper and answered, all of them. Ling Si exclaimed in surprise. A voice above the stadium, addressing the teachers and students, announced that 5 high schools had come together today to hold this sports festival, with their 3rd high school as the hosting school of the Eastern District. He said that this high school sports festival is the first of its kind and he would like to give a warm welcome to students and faculties from other schools. He said, following the principles of nice, great, amazing, let's emblazon our youths with our vigor and sweat. The voice announced that their participants had arrived on the field. He called to cheer all their participants on. He announced that the next event someone must win first place 3 times for this 200-meter sprint to end. A voice from the loudspeakers continued to shout, nice, great, amazing. Ling Si thought about what these principles were and what was wrong with the name of this event. Dressed in his sports uniform, he thought about how he somehow got signed up for all the events, and it's a drag. The protagonist decided that he would just take it easy and get aim for an okayish ranking. A voice addressed the participants of the event and asked them to head towards the starting line because the competition was about to begin. He said to the 3 athletes of third highest to do their best. Ling Si looked at the stadium and thought that he had never noticed this before, but third high are quite rich and they even have such a big stadium. He thought that the fact that they have become the hosts of the Eastern District is not surprising. Looking around at the people near the starting line, the protagonist thought that everyone here was 15 participants from 5 schools, and he'd probably be better off keeping a low profile in the real world. He thought that it would be fine if he was not the last one, and someone must win first place 3 times for this 200-meter sprint to end has a strange condition. Ling Si thought that it seemed that this was not just a speed test, but also an endurance test. He pondered that because of the emergence of the Awakened, competitive events were becoming more and more ridiculous, and in his previous life, he was all but watching from the sidelines, clapping expressionlessly. A guy in a green t-shirt walked up to him and said hello, saying he was from First High. Ling Si awkwardly said hello and shook his hand. The guy said that he hoped they both could perform to their full potential. The protagonist thought that he wasn't used to dealing with extroverts like him. A voice from the loudspeakers announced, "On your marks, set." The competitors near the starting line got ready to run. A voice announced, "Go." Everyone ran forward. Ling Si thought that with their speed, overtaking them would not be a problem at all. Smiling slightly, he ran at a relaxed jog and thought that he would just stick to this pace and plod along. Ling Si thought that he would slow down when they reached the last 50 meters. He thought that this event would only end after someone took first place 3 times, and that was an annoying rule. The guy in front of him was shrouded in a blue aura. Ling Si opened one eye and looked forward. The guy in front of him was running, shrouded in a blue aura, and the protagonist thought about the fact that, as expected, these participants were all awakened. People shrouded in multicolored auras ran beside Ling Si. A voice shouted that some of the participants were starting to use their abilities and they were awakened. It said that one could see the potential of the future in them, and that was the greatness of humanity. Ling Si thought that the fact that they had been chosen to represent their schools was not surprising, and it seemed that it was now commonplace for the Awakened to use their abilities to earn fame for their schools. This is the age of the Awakened after all, he thought. A guy in a green jersey ran through the red ribbon and a voice announced that he had crossed the finish line and they had a contestant from First High in first place. People in the stands were yelling that First High was the best and they needed 2 more wins. Another person told the guy in the green jersey to keep it up and leave them all in the dust. A guy in the stands yelled out to Ling Si, who placed last, asking what school he was from. Noting how slow he was, he asked if he was awakened at all. The girl next to him, laughing, agreed and said that he shouldn't be here if he wasn't an awakened. Ling Si, exhaling, said that he didn't care who came first because he wanted this to end as soon as possible. Zhu Ting, standing behind the disciples, thought about how it must be hard for Ling Si to compete with so many awakened ones, being an ordinary person. He thought that he couldn't thank him enough for this. The man raised his gun up and announced that the second round was about to begin. He told everyone to stand in their seats. The voice asked who would take the first place this time and if it would be the contestant from First High again. Ling Si thought about how they had all given it their all in the previous 200-meter sprint and had even used their awakened abilities, and now they all looked exhausted. He thought that even the one who had ranked first in the previous round now looked like he was having a hard time. Closing his eyes, he thought that they had the use of the Awakened's abilities required a lot of stamina. The protagonist thought that it was none of his business anyway, and he should stick to the plan. A voice called out that someone was using the Awakened's ability. The guy in the green jersey noticed the red energy behind him. The guy in the red t-shirt grinned and ran, enveloped in red energy. A voice asked if he was the contestant who had taken third place from the back in the last round. He said that he seemed to be the first one to use his powers in this round. The guy grinned and thought that he had kept his powers last round and hadn't fully utilized his awakened abilities, which was why he had taken third place from the back. He figured that now that they were all tired, it was his time to shine. Rushing forward, the guy shouted that he would take the first place this time. Ling Si thought with a slight smile that he knew how to conserve his strength and achieve victory with his stamina. He thought that he wasn't bad, and he understood how this game worked. Someone shouted about how he wouldn't let him. Ling Si looked forward in surprise. The guy in the green t-shirt, shrouded in blue energy, had overtaken the guy in the red t-shirt. He used spatial rupture, and a vortex of blue energy appeared in the middle of the running tracks. A voice said that someone had finally used their ability to hinder another participant. The guy in the green t-shirt turned around and said that victory always belongs to him. He told the others, calling them overreaching fools, to just sit back and eat his dust. One of the competitors said that he knew it, and this student is known in First High for always doing anything to win. Ling Si asked thoughtfully about whatever it takes. With a smirk, he asked about whatever it takes to win. The protagonist said that unfortunately, it made him angry. A voice announced that a contestant from First High had won first place for the second time in a row. He asked if he could take the championship title. He announced that the third round was about to begin. A guy in the stands said that this competitor from First High seemed to be one of the candidates in the previous National Youth Athlete selection, and he had seen a report about him. Another guy said it's no wonder he's so strong. He asked if that was fair. The guy asked what was the point of asking. He asked if he knew he was from First High. The guy with the glasses said they couldn't help it if he was good. Exhaling, he said it looks like Third High is doomed. The guy in the green jersey thought to himself that it looks like someone has discovered his identity. Frowning, he thought it didn't matter because their principal had promised him a recommendation to the country's elite sports school if he came in first place. The kid thought he was being friendly and not standing out at the beginning just to win. Looking at the finish line, he thought he just needed to take first place again. The guy in the red t-shirt said they should be wary because they don't know what this guy might do this time. He said he wouldn't risk running close to him again. The voice said, "On your marks." The contestants got ready to run. The voice said, "Get set." The legs of the guy in the green t-shirt were enveloped in blue energy. The voice said, "Go." The guy in the green jersey ran forward, enveloped in blue energy. The guy on the starting line asked about pulling shady tricks right off the bat this time. The guy in the green jersey asked about the fact that they weren't expecting it. He said that they probably weren't all going to unleash their strength until the second half of the race. He asked if they liked the surprise. Laughing, he said that now he just had to maintain his speed as an awakened, and the victory would belong to him. The guy was surprised to notice a man flashing by his side. Ling Si surged forward, overtaking him, and the guy yelled out that it was the guy who was in last place. The voice said about it being a participant from their Third High, and he seemed to be in peak condition. The guy in the green t-shirt was surprised to think that he was also an awakened, and although he couldn't see any awakened aura on him, he managed to overtake him. Gritting his teeth, he thought that it was impossible, and perhaps he had expected his burst at the beginning of this round and managed to dodge, but how could an ordinary person run faster than an awakened? The voice said of the contestant from First High isn't backing down either. The guy rushed forward and used energy propulsion and thought to himself that he couldn't afford to back down now. Appearing next to Ling Si, he swung his fist and thought that he should knock him down. He opened his mouth in surprise. Ling Si used evil spirit's invisibility, and a purple evil spirit appeared in front of the guy. The commentator announced that a new person had taken the first place, and it was a contestant from Third High. He asked if they had any chance of being the champion this round. The main character ran through the red tape and said that he knew he would attack him with unscrupulous means. A guy in the stands exclaimed in surprise that he was good. He asked if he had been in last place before. The girl next to him said that he was indeed awakened. Another guy asked who the white-haired kid was and why he never saw him on any sports teams at their school. They started cheering him on, talking about how Third High still had a chance. Zhu Ting asked in surprise if she was imagining it. The commentator said that after getting hit with a skill from their fellow schoolmate from Third High, the contestant from First High seems to be possessed. He asked if he was dancing. The guy from First High froze in a ridiculous pose, saying that his body was not obeying him. When he noticed people laughing at him, he blushed. As the other contestants were all exhausted, Ling Si continued to clinch first place with ease in the following rounds. To Ling Si, who's a perfect awakened, he merely had to put in a little bit of effort. The girl put the gold medal around the protagonist's neck. Confused, he looked at his gold medal. Upon standing on the podium, Ling Si experienced the joys of school life for the first time ever. Ling Si looked at the gold medal and thought that it was quite a pleasure to receive a medal, and since he had already attracted everyone's attention, he could take this opportunity to enjoy the joys of receiving medals at the same time. Boys absolute high jump. Ling Si jumped over the pole, and a person asked in surprise that he jumped so high without even using the pole. The commentator said about it being a new record and it's that white-haired kid again. He said he broke the high school boys high jump record. Boys super long jump. The main character, once above the bleachers, thought that maybe he had overdone it. Zhu Ting said the field was down. She asked why he jumped up to the spectator stand. The commentator said about it being him again, white-haired from Third High. He said he set a new record again with that ridiculous distance, and he truly is their white-haired god. Zhu Ting smiled awkwardly and thought that this Ling Si was simply unbelievable. Mixed gender super jump rope. The girls in the crowd were cheering Ling Si on. The main character, holding the jump rope in his hands, thought that he could grasp something like jump rope perfectly with top time. He started jumping rope very fast. Soon Ling Si was no longer visible behind the cloud of dust raised by his movements, and a man looking at him asked if he was broken, and he was over 8,000 already. The commentator announced that a new record had been set again, 8663 jumps in 15 minutes. He asked if their white-haired god was going to destroy all high school records. The people in the stands chanted, "White-haired god." Hearing them, Tang Qi asked about white-haired. The guy told him to look, pointing to the stadium. Tang Qi walked closer, and the guy told him it was that guy from their class, Ling Si. Heart-pounding mixed-gender relay. Lingxi was holding a full girl in his arms. After looking at the other teams, he thought about why all the other people's partners were so skinny. The protagonist told the girl to hold the baton tighter. The girl, embarrassed, agreed and asked him to be gentle. Wrapped in electricity, he threw the girl forward and she flew through the air with a scream. Lingxi crossed the finish line, catching the girl in his arms. The commentator said about how he couldn't believe that their white-haired god used such a method to take the top spot again. He said that he wished he was always with them. Tang Qi said with a shocked expression on his face that the one everyone said they were dominating all of today's events was him, Lingxi. In the end, Lingxi's accomplishments in this joint sports festival are, of the 5 single events 5 gold medals, 3 doubles events 3 gold medals, 4 team events 4 gold medals. He set so many records that there were even reporters coming to ask for an interview. However, he rejected them all. The joint sports festival ended in the frenzy stirred up by Lingxi's shocking performance. Zhu Ting told Lingxi that she didn't even realize he was such an incredible awakened one. She said that he is a lifesaver. Lingxi replied that it was nothing. He thought that he might have overdone it a bit. The man behind got out of an expensive red car and said he was that show-off, white-haired god. Taking off his glasses, the guy with the blonde hair told him he wasn't bad. He offered him to come under his wing to work as a fighter. He said he would compensate him accordingly, and he just had to name his price. Raising his palm up, the guy said that from the looks of him, he was from a middle-income home. He asked if he wanted to hop in his new luxury car to talk. He explained that it was a limited edition sports car and there were only 10 of them in the whole world. The guy asked about how he had probably never seen one of these before. Lingxi, exhaling, told Zhu Ting that he would take her home. A horse appeared from the magic circle, and the protagonist said, apologizing that he wasn't used to riding cars. A guy in the crowd exclaimed in surprise. That it was a Pegasus. Lingxi, flying away with Zhu Ting on a Pegasus, saying goodbye, said that he was used to riding horses. A guy in the crowd enthusiastically exclaimed that he had actually summoned Mount in real life. Another guy said that was to be expected from their white-haired god. Lingxi exhaled and said that people like him keep appearing all the time, and he couldn't keep a low profile even if they came by. Zhu Ting exclaimed fearfully that they were very high. After thanking the protagonist for today, she fearfully exclaimed that it was too high. Pointing to one of the residential buildings, she said that she lived there. A child on the street, pointing his finger at a Pegasus, told his mother about a horse flying in the sky. His mother told him about there will be no red packets for him if he continues to talk nonsense. Zhu Ting descended from the Pegasus to the ground. Blown by the strong wind, she said with a smile that his mount was very useful, and she couldn't think of using it as a means of transportation in the real world. She said that they were too high in the air and it was a little too flashy. Lingxi said it was the first time he had summoned a Pegasus in the real world, and if this guy hadn't started annoying him, he wouldn't have used such a flashy move. Zhu Ting said she didn't expect him to be such an incredible awakened, and she's seen other awakened on TV, but he's much more impressive. She said that the fact that he is actually able to summon a Pegasus in the real world is amazing. The main character said with a smile that the appearance of the awakened had really changed a lot of the established rules in this world, and perhaps in the future seeing things that were thought impossible would become commonplace. Standing in front of her on the pavement, he said that he had only recently become awakened, and he was still learning how to use his in-game abilities in real life. He asked her if she was playing Heavenland herself. Zhu Ting replied that Heavenland had practically become their alternate world, so of course she plays it too, although she started somewhat late. With an awkward grin, she said that she had just recently passed the level 15 promotion mission, and she was just a noob archer. Lingxi, hearing about this mission, asked her if she did not awaken. Zhu Ting answered no and explained that she's terrible at video games, so she definitely wouldn't have been able to awaken. She said that she was only able to get level 15 by painstakingly joining random teams. However, she recently met a warrior named Nice Guy who is a team leader and wants to help her raise her level. Zhu Ting said that he is a really nice guy and no one else wants to join the same team with her. Lingxi, frowning, repeated Nice Guy's name and thought that he remembered this player from the last game, and he is a rascal known for tricking unsuspecting new girl players to then take advantage of them. He thought about whether the teacher had become his target. The protagonist thought about how a really nice guy would never use a nickname like Nice Guy, and it seems that Zhu Ting fell for his deception. Zhu Ting said that he is especially nice to her and always compliments her. Lingxi thought that since there was a chance that he was wrong, he'd better see for himself. He told her that after the game finished updating, he would go with her to join his team because he wanted to meet this nice guy. Zhu Ting's face lit up with a smile, and she said that as an awakening, he would surely be amazing in the game world. She said, if a little awkwardly, that she would have to be carried by her own student. Lingxi turned around and said that he was a simple thief whose level was a little higher than hers, and he seemed to be doing quite well. He said that it settled them. He thought that she didn't seem to know about him in the game world, and that was a good thing, otherwise it would be awkward. The protagonist thought that if this guy doesn't turn out to be the pervert he thinks he is, then it's all good. Zhu Ting raised her index finger up and exclaimed solemnly and said that she had never teamed up with someone she knew before. She said that she was sure that this nice guy would let him join them because he was very warm and kind. Ling Si said he would go home. He thought about taking the bus because the Pegasus is too eye-catching. A little mansion at the relatively quieter edge of the wealthy neighborhood. This is the new house the military promised Ling Si. Construction has been completed. Gramps seems to be very satisfied with the new house. He's all smiles every day. As for Ling Si, he's most pleased with the top floor of the mansion, which is equipped with the military-exclusive C3 vessel-type gaming capsule. 2 days later, the update was complete. Ling Si couldn't wait a moment longer to experience the game with the new equipment. Sitting in the gaming capsule, the protagonist thought that it was much better than a headset, with tactile sensors covering his entire body. He thought about how he was sure it would allow him to use top time even better. Level 16-20 Mission Boulevard. Ling Si thought that it was as if he could smell the air. Standing next to the fountain, he thought that his vision had also become much sharper. Touching the water in the fountain, the protagonist thought that his tactile sensors had become more sensitive, which was to be expected from a military-exclusive gaming capsule. Noticing the white hair and black cloak, someone asked Ling Si if it was him. Turning around, the protagonist saw Zhu Ting. Above Zhu Ting's head, a level 15 and the nickname "I carry a kettle" were visible. She said that he looked cool in the game world too. She exclaimed that this is the first time she meets someone she knows in real life in the game world and she is very excited. Ling Si said that he didn't expect her avatar to be even smaller than her in the real world. Pointing to her revealing clothes, he said that her costume is a bad example for children. Embarrassed, Zhu Ting said that nice guy told her that it was better to dress like that because light clothing allows an archer to move and shoot with much more ease. Nice guy came up behind her and put his hand on her shoulder as well and called out her nickname. Above the head of a guy with long blonde hair wearing gold armor and a black cloak, the nice guy's nickname was visible. He asked with a smug smile that this guy was the little thief who said he wanted to join them. Zhu Ting replied with an innocent smile that it was him. Ling Si thought about how he looked like a complete rascal and it must be him. He thought that he had done the right thing by hiding his personal information and he should watch him carefully. Nice guy raised an eyebrow with a smirk and asked about him hiding his personal information. He asked if he was shy. Nice guy said that real men can't be shy. He asked how he could approach him and what level he was. Zhu Ting started to introduce Ling Si, and the protagonist interrupted her and asked her to let him do it himself. The protagonist, smirking, said to call him Si. Bowing slightly, he said that his level was slightly higher than hers. In fact, his level is 63. Nice guy said Si is a pretty lame name. He said he never accepts thieves, and he only lets him join because of kettle. Putting his hand on his belt, he told him when they enter the dungeon to stay behind and just help when he can so he doesn't get in their way. Ling Si obeyed and thought that it makes him rather peeved to hear him say that his name is lame. Turning around, nice guy beckoned for them to go. Ling Si whispered to Zhu Ting that she should act as if they were simple friends and not reveal anything else to him. Zhu Ting obeyed. Placing his hand on her shoulder, nice guy told her that the dungeon they would be going to today was quite dangerous. He told her to stay close to him with an unpleasant smirk. Zhu Ting replied with an innocent smile that he was very reliable. The protagonist thought about the fact that his teacher is an airhead. Nice guy said with a grin that he'll protect her very well. Ling Si thought about how he needed to get a good grasp on this dude for now. The monkey jumped between the trees. After landing on a branch, the monkey turned around. It had a long tail and wasn't very big. Pointing his finger at it, nice guy told Zhu Ting to use his attack skill on this venomous long-tailed ape. Zhu Ting obeyed, fidgetily picking up the bow in her hands. A pink magic arrow flew towards the monkey. It jumped off the branch, and the magic arrow struck the tree trunk. Zhu Ting said as it missed. Nice guy said with a grim smirk and a pretend friendly voice that they needed to take that ape down to complete the task. He asked what she was doing. Zhu Ting, apologizing, said it was her fault. Hugging her and taking her hand, nice guy told her that it's okay because she's still new at this and he understands that. He said that they just need to find that ape again. Zhu Ting, smiling awkwardly, thanked him and said she would try her best. Ling Si thought about the fact that he knew Zhu Ting's aiming was bad, but still made her throw one last hit, and then when she failed, he took advantage of her guilt to cop a feel. He thought he was really living up to his reputation. The main character thought with a slight smirk that this must be his standard operating procedure, and he wondered how many others he had used it on. He thought that this was just the beginning, and he remembered from his past life that there's still quite a bit of time before he gets exposed for being a pervert. Ling Si thought that he was afraid that his silly teacher would still consider this rascal a good person even after she's been eaten clean. He thought that now that he had confronted him, he'll bring forward his demise. Looking at the dialogue box, the protagonist was glad that he had asked Tiana to get some secret weapons for him. He remembered how Tiana, after congratulating him on becoming the guild leader, told him that these secret weapons, which were all good items collected by their previous guild leader, now belonged to him. Looking at the pin-like item in his hand with a wide smile, Lingxi thought that he couldn't believe that she had given him such top-notch things. Nice Guy, blushing and continuing to touch Zhu Ting's hands, told her that there were a few issues with her archery just now. He suggested that she take a little break so he could give her some pointers. Zhu Ting said that it looked like she would need to consolidate her knowledge and experience frequently to improve. The protagonist couldn't believe that he was doing this right in front of him. He thought with a sinister grin that it looked like he was going to have to teach him what it meant to be a nice guy. The object in his hand was shrouded in dark violet energy. Nice Guy told Zhu Ting to come over to him because there is no one here and they can have this place all to themselves. Zhu Ting sat down on the log and Nice Guy told her that he doesn't usually share his experience with others, and he decided to personally instruct her because she was trying hard. Zhu Ting asked if she could get her friend, C, to instruct her as well. Nice Guy looked around at Zhu Ting and said that teaching her alone requires a lot of effort and she could just listen carefully now. Why later teach him as well? Zhu Ting hesitantly agreed. She said with a worried face that she doesn't feel good about leaving him there all by himself. Nice Guy told her not to worry because he could use this as a break. Reaching for her lower back, he thought to himself that as long as there was no one around to interrupt them, everything was fine. Among the trees behind them, Lingxi's silhouette flashed. Peeking out from behind a tree, he asked about the break. Cursed rivets, black rivets that have been cursed. Once they come into contact with flesh, they will sink into the target's body, leaving no marks aside from a stinging pain. When there are 6 or more rivets in the target's body, the curse will be activated. Engulfed in pain and torment, the afflicted target's HP will be drained slowly, before finally dying in extreme agony. With a smirk, the protagonist said he didn't need a break. Cursed rivet rushed between the trees towards Nice Guy. The object stabbed into his neck and he shrieked sharply in pain. Zhu Ting asked what happened. Rubbing his neck, Nice Guy replied that he was fine. He thought about what it was. Assuming it was a bug, he thought that it couldn't be because this was a game world. Frowning, Nice Guy thought that he had missed such a good opportunity. He glanced towards the trees. Lingxi, hiding behind a tree trunk, thought with a chuckle that this was a gold rank item and the best thing about it is that there's nowhere to track its source. He thought that it could be dispelled easily with priest skills like cleanse and purify, but he was sure that a guy whose head was full of nasty thoughts would never realize what had happened. The main character thought that Tiana must have given him such high-ranking items because she thought he was going to use it against some big shot, and the fact that he had to use it on a villain like him is a waste. Above Nice Guy's head was written, "Curse Incomplete." Zhu Ting asked him what that inscription above his head was. Nice Guy replied with a strained smile that he was perfectly fine, and offered to pick up where they left off. Looking at Zhu Ting, he thought that he didn't care at all about what was written above his head when his prey was so close. Nice Guy thought that he couldn't believe that she was wasting her time being distracted by random things. He thought about how he could be so disrespectful to Beauty and he needed to concentrate. Remembering what they talked about, he said they talked about how to lock onto targets. The guy said that she needs to lift her hips first. As she lifted up, Zhu Ting asked, like this. Nice Guy replied that was correct and she was doing a great job. He reached out to her lower back again. Another cursed rivet flew forward, cleaving the air. The needle stabbed into his arm, and Guy cried out in pain. Zhu Ting surprisingly asked him if he was okay and what happened. Looking at his hand, Nice Guy replied that he was fine. The guy in the green hat came out of the bushes and said that they couldn't find him until he screamed. He said they had all rested and could now continue on with the task at hand. Guy suggested that they find the last venomous ape and finish this up. He added that the thief who had joined them had disappeared somewhere. He said that he must have gone ahead to scout the area. The boy asked about that. Gritting his teeth in anger, Nice Guy said there was no point in the redneck worrying about it. He irritably asked what could have happened to him in the first place and urged to move on. Lingxi said that he was here. Leaning his back against a tree trunk, he said he was scouting the road ahead. Nice Guy shouted to him that as the leader of the team, he didn't remember to tell him about wandering wherever he wanted. He told him not to even think about causing them problems, and if it wasn't for Zhu Ting, he would have kicked him out a long time ago. The guy in the green hat asked with an awkward smile why the captain was suddenly lashing out. Nice Guy, equally furious, replied that it was fine. He urged to move on. The main character thought with a chuckle that his facial expression was really amusing. Zhu Ting asked Nice Guy about how he could say that to her friend. Frowning, she raised her index finger and said that they should be polite to their teammates, and if he acted like that, she and her friend would leave the party right now. Lingxi thought to herself that this was manifesting her real-life teacher persona. Nice Guy fussily replied that she misunderstood him, and he only behaves strictly with his teammates to enforce discipline, and it's for the sake of their performance. He thought about the fact that he had lost his composure in front of his prey. The guy said that saying what he said was wrong on his part, and for that he apologizes to her and C. Zhu Ting replied that he should apologize to C then. Lingxi with a smug smile told him that she was right and he should apologize to him. He looked at him with a sneer. Nice Guy irritably thought about the fact that he needed to apologize to this redneck, all because this random stinging pain made him lose his cool. He thought that he needed to redeem himself immediately. Bowing his head, the guy said that he was too rude and he was sorry. Lingxi replied that he was forgiven. Zhu Ting suggested to continue with the task. Raising her fist upwards, she enthusiastically said, "Let's go." The protagonist grinned, and Nice Guy gritted his teeth in anger with a grim face. Clutching his head, he thought that there was something wrong with this guy, and that look was not like that of a rookie. He thought if he was on to him. Nice Guy decided that he must be overthinking it, and he couldn't afford to get distracted and let these trivial matters ruin his grand plan. He thought about the fact that Little Kettle was still waiting, and he sinned again. Nice Guy thought he should go back to the task at hand and wait for a chance to strike. He blazed with flaming passion of a pervert. Lingxi thought with a smirk that he wouldn't give him a chance to do anything again. During the mission, Zhu Ting shouted to the protagonist that she had locked onto the target. Lingxi replied that he was too. The third rivet hit Nice Guy and he fell to the ground in surprise. While they were analyzing the situation, the fourth rivet hit Nice Guy who was standing next to Zhu Ting in the back. During the break, the fifth rivet hit him in the back while he was sitting next to Zhu Ting, embracing her. While Nice Guy was spacing out, the fifth rivet hit him in the back and he screamed again. The guy in the green hat asked why their team leader was acting out and shouting randomly all day today. Zhu Ting replied with a concerned face that she didn't know either. The sixth rivet activated the curse and Nice Guy started rolling on the ground screaming in pain. Zhu Ting asked him if he was okay. The guy in the green hat asked what was wrong with him and if it was an epileptic seizure. Lingxi stood between the two team members, told them with a smile that they should just leave this assignment because the reward for it wasn't good anyway. The guy in the green hat asked if he thought they would leave just because he said so. He said they all came here for the reward for the assignment. Frowning, he said that they only had one venomous ape left to complete the task. The protagonist handed him a black card and said that it was the reward for this quest only 10 silver. He said with a smirk that he would give each of them 50 silver, the equivalent of completing this quest multiple times. The guy in the green hat replied with a smile that they wouldn't insist then. The other guy replied, "A teammate for a day is a teammate for a lifetime." He told him if he needed them for anything in the future, just give them a holler. As he left, the guy in the green hat said goodbye to Nice Guy, who was lying on the ground shivering, shrouded in purple energy, screaming that he was dying. Zhu Ting asked in bewilderment what was going on. Lingxi told her to confide in him. He said he wanted to talk to this Nice Guy. He told her to wait for him here. As he approached Nice Guy, the protagonist asked him what he really clueless about. He asked if he noticed that something was going on in his body. Nice Guy, gritting his teeth, said that it was him. Lingxi's shadow covered the guy, and he asked who he was and what he wanted. He said that he had never done anything to him. A dialogue box said that personal information had been made public. The main character took a seat next to the guy and told him that he had never done anything to him, but unfortunately, he laid his pervy eyes on his friend. Above Lingxi's head, his name and the title of Penumbra Guildmaster were visible. Nice Guy surprisingly asked about the fact that he was Lingxi, Guildmaster of Heavenland's number 3 guild, Penumbra. Squeezing the guy's face, the Guildmaster said that he knew he was very surprised, but he better keep a low profile. He said that he knows about everything he did, so explanations and excuses won't help him. Nice Guy, lying on the ground in agony, tried to answer him. Lingxi told him not to bother because the pain he was feeling now would only get worse, and soon he would die. The guy coughed up blood. The main character got to his feet and said that when he woke up, he would be at the cemetery. Nice Guy said he didn't realize that the girl was one of his men. Apologizing, he told Lingxi that he was blamed for not recognizing him. Nice Guy said he has a good friend in the first division of Wolf's Fang. He is very rich and is an athlete with wealth and power in real life. He told him to spare him this time and then he will compensate him well. Nice Guy said that the gear he is wearing now, he got from him as well. He offered to talk things out. Pleading, Nice Guy said he doesn't want to lose his gear, and that set of gear is astronomically expensive right now. Lingxi asked about the fact that this costume was one of the things he used to attract girl players. He said with a calm face that he still didn't seem to understand anything, and he wasn't supposed to do such things to girls regardless of whether they were his friend or not. The protagonist asked if he understood. He said he would give him 2 choices. 1. After he wakes up, Lingxi will tell his men from Penumbra to get after him until he is down to level 1. 2. After he is revived, he will quit this game. Ling Si said that he hoped he would never see him online again. Nice Guy, pointing his finger at him, exclaimed that by this choice, he is only making him tell his friends from Wolf's Fang to stage a counterattack. He asked if he was trying to start a war between the guilds. Ling Si, walking away, asked how muddle-headed he was to say such things. He said that the last person who tried to ambush him was Wolf's Fang's guildmaster. The guildmaster told him to learn to respect women in games next time he plays. He told him to enjoy his punishment. Nice Guy died from the curse. Ling Si thought about the rich and powerful athlete. Zhu Ting exclaimed that she couldn't have imagined that Nice Guy was a pervert all this time, and even used mobility as an excuse to make her wear open clothes. She wondered why he didn't tell her about it as soon as he found out. Ling Si, exhaling, replied that he himself wasn't sure at first, and on top of that, she is very careless. He said that he tried to take advantage of her many times, but she never once noticed. Looking at the dialogue box, the protagonist said that he didn't think he would show up here again. He said that she needs to be more careful of the people around her because not everyone who seems nice is actually a nice person. He added that, after all, they would never be able to figure out what they were really thinking, especially in the game world. Zhu Ting, a little embarrassed, replied that she really wasn't that good at being suspicious of others, and seeing that he wanted to teach her how to play the game, she thought he was a good guy. She said that she had gotten him in trouble again. Ling Si replied that he has female friends who is also an archer like her. He said she could learn from her and listen to her instructions. Zhu Ting excitedly asked about the fact that he also has his own team. She enthusiastically agreed. The protagonist said that he had just sent her a message. He told her to just wait for her here because they had just finished Dungeon Raid, and he told them to take her with them. Ling Si said that he had other things to do, so he wouldn't stay with her. He imagined the scene of an enraged Coco Lai hitting Zhu Ting on the head while she apologized. Zhu Ting thanked the departing Ling Si, and he thought about the fact that their characters are completely opposite, and he wondered if that was a good idea. After the update, the underground world was added to the game. It's an immense new map. Adventurers will soon encounter the brand new elements, dark and evil. In addition, many more unknowns are waiting to be discovered. Ling Si, walking through the huge entrance, thought that this was one of the entrances to the new underground world. The stone pillars in front of him were shrouded in chains. The protagonist thought that besides the fact that this place had a minimum level requirement, not many people knew about it, so there weren't likely to be many players here. On the dialogue box was a message from Ling Si to Stillwaters. The information I've provided should be enough for them to get through the first 5 entry-level dungeons of the underground world. Ling Si noticed the voice call from Stillwaters. Stillwaters said that he could just dump the information about the dungeons on them and disappear. He said that he should lead their core members to get familiarized with these dungeons. The main character, rubbing his neck, said it was too much work. He told him to just make them follow the guides he has provided. Ling Si said that all the details are there and he still needs to explore the new map himself, so he might not be back for a while. Stillwaters replied that he just became the main guild leader, yet he's barely around. He said that their guild is growing faster than they expected, and they now have twice as many members as before. Stillwaters said that he was afraid that they would not have enough resources. Ling Si asked him what he thinks they should do. Stillwaters said they need to set minimum requirements to join the guild and reassess their current members. He said that those who don't meet the requirements will be kicked out and they need to raise their standards to ensure that their guild is strong. The protagonist replied that that sounded good. He said that's what they will do. Ling Si said that he will leave it to him to decide on the guild's internal affairs as he always has. He said that there is no need for everything to go through him because he trusts his judgment. Stillwaters said that that won't do because Ling Si is the guildmaster and he is the vice guildmaster and they need to make their roles clear. They said that when it comes to running the guild, he should be the only one who has the decision-making power. Ling Si grudgingly agreed and told him to go on and make the arrangement. He told him to contact him if he needed anything. The protagonist thought about how being a guild leader was a very stressful job. He wondered if beating the other guilds to thoroughly grasp the new map shouldn't be the most important thing to do right now. Looking up, he wondered if he didn't think anyone had gone where he was going right now. In Ling Si's previous life, trading at the underground village was one of the best ways to make money after the release of the underground world. This is because the monsters of the underground world wield weapons that come with either the evil or dark element, which would give players a major headache from the corrosive darkness effect inflicted. Pushing off the ground, Ling Si jumped forward with his daggers in hand, thinking that besides the expensive holy potion that could cleanse this debuff, the equipment from the underground world could negate it completely. But as the holy potions are too expensive, players prefer to go for the underground world's equipment instead. The villages and NPCs that players can trade with are either very far away or in hidden areas, so players need to explore the area slowly to discover them. Pushing away from the chains enveloping the stone pillars, the protagonist thought that since he was a human who had been reborn, things were different now. A silhouette wearing a dark hood was shrouded in a red aura. Ling-Si clutched onto a rock nearby. Looking at the monsters in front of him, he thought, what a pain. There was a hooded skeleton in front of him, and the protagonist thought it was Dream Eater. Frowning, he thought that these Dream Eaters are extremely annoying, and they would suddenly ambush players that are passing by. Looking at the hooded monster, Ling-Si thought that they had the ability to hypnotize players, and after they did that, they would suck their HP dry. They can be considered one of the troublesome gatekeepers of the underground world. The protagonist thought that all the players from his past life knew about this because these monsters caused everyone a lot of trouble. Noticing something, he opened his eyes in surprise. The silhouette of a human flashed behind the monster. Dream Eater was chopped in half. The girl with yellow eyes squinted slightly. Dressed in black clothes, she stood in a fighting stance. There were no weapons in her hands, and her long gray hair was gathered into a wide ponytail. Ling-Si opened his mouth in surprise. Looking to the side, he rounded his eyes in surprise. The guy in the hat was standing with a sword in his hands in front of the giant monster. A smile flashed across his unshaven face. With one swing of his sword, he chopped the monster apart and was behind it. Ling-Si was surprised to realize that it was immovable dark lines.